Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I wanted to get on today and talk about relationship burnout and how our devices can be a source of good or negative, a positive or negative in a relationship. And it's not either or, it can be both. And so I just wanted to talk about the ways in which it can be a positive influence in your relationship and ways that it can negatively impact it. And by impacting it, I mean impacting your intimacy. So for couples that aren't living in the same vicinity, sharing space, obviously connecting through their devices is going to, keep that connection alive and, doing video chats and sending little messages back and forth. That's all part of building intimacy and sharing. But if that's the only way that the relationship exists, at some point that's not going to be enough. And then the opposite is true in that you could be living in the same household and sharing space, and yet if 24/7 you're constantly this or this, or just zoned out watching a show, then that's not going to work in the long term either. So how can we use our devices to help encourage connection and intimacy? And then how can we find ways to find balance? Because, we all have devices and we all have things that we enjoy about social media and, the things that we're exposed to through our devices. So they're not inherently bad. So how do we find that balance? And what do we do if it's negatively impacting our intimacy? So if you're finding that even though you're living in the same household, you're sharing space, that you might as well be in different rooms or different households altogether, because most of the time you're one of you or both of you are so involved in your device that you're not having those face-to-face connections and conversations. So there might be some addiction there, and so that might need to be addressed, or it might just be something that you both need to be intentional about and have conversations around, and it might be something that you need to set boundaries around. So if you have those conversations and you set the boundaries and you're both in agreement that this is something that you'd like to work on together, then it can be something that you can change, and you can work towards finding that balance together if you negotiate that with each other. However, what I'm hearing with a lot of people that I talk to is that there's often an addiction attached to these devices. And so if the device is being used to escape or to numb or to dissociate, then and it's become an issue, and the person can't put them down or can't turn it off or shut it off or walk away, then that needs to be addressed through therapy and whatnot. So that's a whole other kettle of fish, right? So if you're experiencing that yourself, or you are in relationship with someone who's having those issues, then that's something that you would need some help with, right? So but to get back to, say you've talked about it with your spouse and both of you agree that you're feeling disconnected and this is one of the reasons why, then having those conversations and setting those boundaries, like I said, could be really beneficial to your relationship. And then it's not enough to just remove those. The ideal would be to bring in some more positive things. Maybe talk about things that you used to enjoy doing together. Talk about things that you wanted to try, things that you're interested in, and then see if you can plan to have different things fill the space and time that those devices would have filled. And hopefully some of that time is spent together. So that's how we build intimacy. Intimacy isn't just in the bedroom. Intimacy is about those little moments throughout our days together where we're connecting, where we're sharing, maybe we're being vulnerable, and we're being playful and we're being together, right? So that's hard to do if you're constantly looking down at your phone. So if the intimacy isn't there in those moments of togetherness, then it's going to be really hard to flip a switch and just move from that to being intimate in the bedroom. So, our relationships need attention. They need to be honored and taken care of. And that means that we need to attend to things like our social media usage. So this is just one of many ways or things that can get in the way of couples feeling connected and intimate, but it's a common one, and it's one that I hear over and over again, and it's fixable. So it might be the thing that you start with, and then it might sort of, grow from there, that, maybe this is something that is fixable, especially if there's not an addictive component to it. And if there is, that's still fixable too. It's just going to take a different kind of work, right? So, and it would take some work individually, whereas this is something that you could work on together if it's a common goal. If it's not a common goal, if you've expressed your desire to be more connected and you're feeling like the obstacle to that connection is the devices and time spent detached from each other, and you've expressed that to the other person and they're not willing to work on that with you, then that's another discussion altogether. Both of you need to want to work on it and be willing to try different things to, find the connection again, right? To learn ways to shut off and to put the devices away. That's not easy to do, and it's something that you're going to need to support each other with if it's a common goal. So that said, if you find yourself in a situation where the other person's unwilling to do the work, or if they're willing to do the work but they're recognizing that it's a bigger issue, then therapy is the answer to both of those situations. Either therapy for yourself to get real and to get some clarity on what you want in your relationship, and maybe to build the resources that you need to be able to set boundaries and to be able to feel heard in your relationship. So maybe that's where the therapy could come in, if the other person's sort of struggling to let go of these, and they're crutches, and they're ways to not have to deal with other more painful situations and feelings and emotions, right? So to expect that for some people, or for a lot of people, that you can just remove those things and that person will just be okay with that, without the injection of other resources. That's kind of cruel, right? So it's become an addiction for a reason, and that reason needs to be addressed, and that needs to be addressed in therapy. So if that's how far it's gotten, then those are the resources that you'll need, and that's the ways in which therapy can help. If it's just an issue of, if you slid into some bad habits, it's not normally something that you struggle with, but you just become a little less mindful of it. It could just be a matter of, resetting your intention that this is something that's important to you and that you want to be much more intentional about. And in that way, as a couple, you can support each other for that goal. So I hope this helps, and I hope that it gives you some ideas of what you can do to increase intimacy in your relationship. And if you're hearing what I'm saying, then hopefully you're understanding that it's not just a one and done kind of thing. It could just be the start of your reconnection to each other. And that could be, something that evolves and takes on many different twists and turns. But if you're struggling together or even individually, then seeking out help from someone who is qualified, then it can really help you to resolve some of the issues in your relationship and even in your own self. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.